Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
In just a matter of seconds, you're going to hear a classic episode of this show from back in the day when we called ourselves Movies We Like.
It took us a while to settle into the show's format, so you'll notice some differences as you listen to these episodes. For instance, it takes us a bit of time to actually get into the conversation about the movie. Things like that.
But we're still proud of the conversations about the movies themselves, and we think they're worth keeping in the library.
So enjoy these episodes from our back catalog. And you can become part of our Discord community, learn more about the show, and find out how you can become a supporting member at thenextreel.com.
So thank you, everybody, for downloading and listening to The Next Reel. We appreciate your time and attention, and we hope you enjoy the show. Let me tell you what I did tonight. I'm not feeling all that well.
No,
because my wife is out of town. She's doing her trip, so it's me and the kids. And we have this new favorite meal. Yeah. It's ramen. Now I'm not saying that it's ramen like the 95-cent ramen.
Okay.
I'm saying we've figured out. I found the the guidebook on real ramen, like making your own ramen. It's a very simple kind of a thing, but it does require, we make our broth from scratch. We went ahead and roasted a chicken and took the broth and boiled it. It was great, and we had this great thing. So my pan, my saucepan that I make the broth in, I cleaned it as I was straining the broth and getting all the goodies out, and I washed it, and then I put it back on the stove, put the broth back in to heat it up, and then cook the noodles. And as I'm bringing the broth to a boil, it's bubbling more than I think it should.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually the bubbles, they really end up taking on more of a consistency of, what's the word? Suds?
Goo? Oh, okay.
I don't think I didn't rinse. I cleaned it very well, but I don't think I rinsed the pan well enough.
Mm.
And ended up and so I kind of scraped the bubbles off the top. And I served it. I thought, what's wrong with eating a little soap? I thought it might help break it down as it goes down,
Sure.
Yeah, it may be breaking it down right now.
Mm.
Yeah, sudsy ramen. It was quite delicious.
Aromatic. Are you like belching bubbles?
A little bit. It's like the cartoon. I'm a cartoon dingo.
Cartoon dingo.
I'm a cartoon dingo belching bubbles.
I would like one of our listeners to draw that and send it to us, because that's just fantastic. Pete, the cartoon dingo belching bubbles. Oh, somehow I feel that needs to be a part of the shirt next year.
I was just going to say, you know what? If somebody can come up with a really good image of Pete, the cartoon dingo belching bubbles, I will put it on a shirt and I will send them one.
There you go.
And I will put that up on our website.
Everybody should have one.
I think we need a cartoon dingo belching bubbles. And you just wait, Nelson. Your time will come.
I'm anxiously awaiting. Oh, that's so fantastic.
Right? How are you doing? Are you feeling good?
I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I feel equally good. Shall we tell the people where we're from?
Where are we from?
Hey everybody, welcome to the next reel. I'm Pete Wright. That there is Andy Nelson.
Good night.
And we spoil movies. Tonight on the show, the second in our epic dystopian action extravaganza with George Miller's 1981 Mad Max Dose, The Road Warrior. But before we get into that, you should learn more about us at thenextreel.com. Subscribe on iTunes or follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Next Reel. And if you eat old dog food straight from the can, head over to Instagram.com/TheNextReel and play The Next Reel's Instagram. #PonyPrize, #Guess the Movie Challenge. Andy, how'd we do with those gyro pilots this week?
We did pretty good. If you're speaking about people who eat dog food, were you speaking specifically of me?
Andy the Aussie.
That's right. Good day. No, we did pretty good. It was 4 images in this week of the fittingly Australian film, The Babadook. Which I know some people love it, but I just really hated that movie.
Really?
I thought it was terrible.
Oh man!
I liked the idea of the Babadook, but by the time I got to the ending, I was like, "Oh, seriously?"
Oh, jeez, man! Hang on, Mark Kermode's calling on the other line. He's asking for your number. Should I give it to him?
Sure. Bring it on. Bring it on.
Wow, you are going against the system on that one.
I know. What can I say? It's just me, stinker. But yeah, it had its creepy elements. But anyway, that's few and far between. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't matter at all.
You're using language interestingly.
It's been an interesting language day for me.
Go language. Language 1, Andy 0.
That's right. It has been one of those days. But 4 images in, and Hunter M. Lewis returning after quite a hiatus, I believe. But yeah, he returned with 4 images, was able to guess it was the Babadook. So he is, of course, entered in the 2015 Pony Prize.
Outstanding. Hunter M. Lewis, congratulations. Welcome to the club. I think with that, Andy, it's time for us to do some trailers.
excited about mine. It looks like a strange little quirky comedy that could be bad. And I think if it were made in the United States with Adam Sandler in it, I think it would be bad. But I think because this is has a little bit of Monty Python muscle behind it, Terry Jones co-wrote it and is directing it. And it's actually including all of the Monty Python gang as a group of extraterrestrials. I am kind of giving this a little bit of a win right now. Simon Pegg is starring in it too, which of course almost always gives something at least a point for me wanting to watch it, even though he's been in some that aren't very good. But I still put it in the win category because the Monty Python gang, Simon Pegg, and this just looks like it looks like Bruce Almighty drop God and throw in 5 Monty Python-esque aliens. Giving him unlimited power to see if he will actually do good and save humanity so that they won't destroy the earth. And instead, he does things like have his clothes put themselves on him and make the dog poop clean itself up and just completely nonsensical stuff. And I think it looks really funny. I can't wait to see it.
Suppose there was one thing you could do would change your life for the better.
Oh, that's easy. I would be able to see Catherine from downstairs. I can make things happen. Clothes, get dressed on me. All I have to do is wave my hand. Dennis, be able to speak.
Biscuits.
What?
Biscuits. Please, please, please. Nothing else matters. Come to think of it, I wouldn't mind shagging your leg right now.
I think at this point, my strategy around Simon Pegg movies is not to see many of them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I have such a good memory of the Simon Pegg movies that I really adore. Right. And so I will not sully them by seeing other ones. This one tempts me more than some of the others. I think Robin Williams as the dog. Like I find some of this really intriguing, and poop. Who doesn't love a good British poop joke?
They do them well.
So I don't know. I'm thinking I might dive in. Maybe we'll wait for trailer 2. I don't know.
It could work. It's one of those things. I feel like I'm giving it a win right now. I'm still nervous about it because, when Simon Pegg is not with Edgar Wright, he can end up in some disastrous comedy films. But I want it to be good. With the Monty Python guys in it and Simon Pegg, you've got Kate Beckinsale, like you said, Robin Williams as the dog, Joanna Lumley, Eddie Izzard, Rob Riggle, who cracks me up.
Every stinking thing he's in, that guy, just looking at him, just the way his face moves, he's funny. Yep, you're right. Much. That's a big point in the pro column.
I don't have any U.S. release dates, but it's going to be hitting, looks like France, UK, and Iceland in August and September. So hopefully we'll get a release date over here. If not, I'm sure it'll end up going straight to streaming and Netflix and all that sort of stuff.
All right. Well, mine is I am very excited about mine. It has been out since 2013. It is looks like a Chilean-Argentinian co-production. Takes place in Buenos Aires, and it's called The Film Critic. And I am just charmed by this film. This is a film about a film critic who lives in the sort of malaise of French cinema. He thinks all cinema is dying, and suddenly he gets caught in a sappy love story. And so this is a movie about a critic that feels like he is trapped in the wrong genre. And it looks like a charming little romantic ditty.
I agree. I think, they had the little blurbs up there as far as what some other people at film festivals and critics had thought of it. And one of them referenced When Harry Met Sally. And I definitely had that vibe from it as you kind of dealt with this love story and this kind of, this person who's unsure of being in this particular love story. And I really liked the vibe. I loved the sense of the characters. I loved the idea of somebody who breaks down films and analyzes them and scrutinizes every detail, particularly of the bad ones that he hates, who ends up getting trapped in one of the ones that he hates. I just think that's a fantastic idea. And the way that they play with some of the tropes, how he's talking about, and of course there's lots of rain and there always has to be the big run at the end. And it just, it looks very funny. I'm very excited for it. It looks like something that we both should check out.
I absolutely think we do. It is practically your biography.
Practically.
And I would talk a lot about the people who were involved in this film, but I don't know any of them. Hernan Gershuni is the writer-director of this film. Raphael Spregelbird and Dolores Fonzi are central characters. They look really intriguing. They look great on screen. I can't wait to see it. And then I will know to watch for them in the future. That is where I am with this film.
Absolutely.
Looks like it hits iTunes and a limited theatrical release on May 15th, 2015 in the U.S. If you are abroad and you have seen this film, drop us a line. Let us know what you thought of it. We'd love to hear. There you go.
Excellent.
All right. Andy, I just need to tell you.
What's that?
I am gravely disappointed. Again, you have made me unleash my dogs over them.
This is what it has come to.
Look! Out there! They're coming back! Come on, move it!
Here is where it shall be decided.
Greetings from the Humongous.
In a world without gas,
The Humongous rules the wasteland.
I'm gravely disappointed that you wish to take the gasoline out of the wasteland.
Defend the fuel.
We'll never walk away!
Give me the pump, the gasoline, the whole compound.
this is a land that prays for a hero.
Well, if anyone's gonna get in there, it's gonna be you.
This is Mad Max 2.
Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, Part 2 again. 1981, George Miller brings it back. Mel Gibson and Bruce Spence and Michael Preston, written by Terry Hayes and George Miller. It is obviously the quite speedy follow-up to 1979's original film, Mad Max, which we talked about last week, which, if you don't recall, I really, really, really liked. I
know you did.
I liked it a whole lot.
Yeah, you were quite disappointed that it didn't end up much higher on our flick chart list.
That was a flick chart hate crime, if you recall. And that's something we need to add to the dictionary, a flick chart hate crime.
That's right.
Because
I'm writing it down.
It is not. That was a shock. And, you know, it was a shock not only to me. Our favorite Scottish friend, Stephen Smart, even commented.
That's right, he did.
In the back channels that he agreed. I hope that he agreed with me.
I think he did.
He used
Although,
many
to
exclamation
be fair,
points.
It was not a rock, paper, scissors. You willingly went along with it.
I know, and I totally regret it. I regret it. I gave that up, and I should not have done so.
Oh.
I regret that. This is the one I didn't actually write it anywhere. The one Andy broke. But I've been thinking about it all week. So anyway, here we go. Follow up.
Here it is.
If I recall, this is a film you like quite a lot, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior.
I do like this quite a lot.
I also like it quite a lot.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you my thoughts.
Oh, I don't like it when it starts with but. I
know. It's practically an Eastwood Western. Like, I couldn't get the Man with No Name trilogy out of my head, right? I mean, I love the vibe that it sets, right? The kind of great adventure of the surly hero coming to town, you know, and he helps the settlers find their way to the north by beating off a gang of bandits wearing buttless chaps.
Hey, don't knock him. I'm wearing some right
now. Deep knee bends. And so, I really liked it. And that was the human connection for us in this film, right? I mean, that was the sort of humanity, the grace, the sensibility of this, in this case, named, but practically unnamed stranger Max coming into town and finding his way into the good graces of the settlement and ending up driving the heroic truck out of town.
Yes.
I love the action of the film. I love the stunts lived up to my expectations after last week, and yet I find myself missing a key element that I did not remember from, in my preparing for my viewing of Mad Max, that I ended up loving so much last week, which was the humanity of his relationship with his wife and daughter. They were not able to capture in this film that same the same family element that I loved so much, and I don't think they made enough of an attempt to rekindle that spirit in rebuilding his character. Now, maybe it's because this film came out so soon after the original, they felt that they didn't need to, whatever. But for me, this film ended up feeling like a otherwise sort of hollow, big, awesome action film.
Well, that's interesting, and I also don't know if I'd call it that fast afterward. I mean, it was 2 years for them to get this one going, which doesn't seem that fast. And also, George Miller was offered a bunch of other jobs, and he and his writing partner, I think, were writing some other project for a little while before he decided to jump onto this one. So I don't think it was like, as soon as Mad Max was in theaters that they jumped on to making this one. So
that's fair. That's fair.
But I always find when I watch this that there is this. Yes, there's definitely that connection with the Man with No Name type of story, where you've got this loner who just wants to kind of avoid contact and stay away from everybody, but has to get involved because he needs things. And but in the end, there's enough there that he finally kind of turns around a little bit and willingly helps. Now, I will agree, this time it did seem like there wasn't a whole lot to trigger him to change his mind and bring him back to the little, I don't know what you would call that thing, the encampment that these guys are.
Their refinery.
Yeah, their little fortress refinery that they're in. It's not like he had a change of heart that brought him back. I mean, he was pretty much attacked and left for dead and brought back. And then he decides, he wants, I think to me, it seems more like he wants to get back at the bad guys now, more so than he wants to help the good guys, if that makes sense. Like that's kind of my read on the ending on this latest watch that I did.
Yeah, I can see that, but I think there's a healthy dose of helping the good guys as a part of this. I mean, he obviously he gets beaten up pretty bad, and there is a dose of vengeance, and that fits with his character. Obviously, he is, dare I say, mad.
That's right.
But still, there is. I mean, it just felt very much like there was an attempt to mirror some of that humanity from the first film, which absolutely, was thick with it in this film. And I maybe that was me just latching onto it because I missed that so much. I mean, if it was only vengeance, if that was his primary motivation, then it's even sort of less interesting to me. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, no, I totally see that. And I mean, I think there is a lot going on. Like, I think there is a strong community with this group of people that we find. I really enjoy all of the different people and their kind of crazy 80s stylings that they have held on to into the apocalyptic era. I really enjoy that.
Right.
And again, I shouldn't say apocalyptic, just this post, World War III, maybe, type of thing. We're not quite clear from the beginning, but like I said last time, there were two world powers that went to war, and everybody's just kind of fighting in the scraps right now of the aftermath. But I like this group of people. I like the sense of family that they have living here in this little fortress that they've created, and I do like that Max comes along and really pushes away this sense of attachment to them. They want him to help out. He's pushing that away because he just wants to be that loner that he was left as at the end of Mad Max. He was left this shell of a man that is just roaming the roads, fighting for fuel, and just getting by. This is his opportunity to rebuild himself right here. And we have that presented to him, and he shuns it. And he says, I just want the fuel. I just want to work out the deal that I struck with this guy and get out of here. And they go through the process of making that deal happen. But when it finally does, he does return and step up to go help these guys out. And I do like that. And even at the end of the film, we finally get a real smile from him as he realizes the what has actually transpired as far as this truck being full of dirt instead of fuel, which I think is just a brilliant twist. And he gives that smile to the gyro captain, which is just so winning. And you can totally, I feel like there's almost like a rebirth of some of his passion for humanity again, which he's been fighting against this whole film. And it's almost like finally we get a little bit of that rebirth of Max from the first film.
Now you're getting there. That's what I wanted. That's my feeling. I think that's what I like about the end. And I also like how that theme, that sort of ideological worldview, is supported by the narration in this film, and generally is, I think the narration in general usually is kind of silly, but in this case, I think it really ends up supporting Max as the mythic figure.
Yeah,
and that lends to it a sense of great sadness at the end of the film, as he's standing on the road, and the narration says, that was the last we ever saw of Max, and that we find out that the little kid, the animalistic little kid, ends up being, our narrator throughout the film, which is a nice twist. So I think we get that sense that, and that I think is what counters this idea that it was vengeance all along. I think Max had come to an awareness that, hey, this was his big transformation. This was his change over the course of the film, that he had a need to do good here, that he was still in some way, shape, or form inside, he was still an enforcer of law, whether it was, civilization's law or the primal law of right and wrong or the moral law. He was still a supporter and an enforcer of law. And I think that's what makes the character more complex, is that he can't actually be 100% nutso all the time,
right?
Because he has a moral fiber.
Absolutely.
So
he sees the people from the fortress try to escape. They get stopped. The guy gets killed. The woman gets raped. He goes down. I mean, yes, he's going down because he wants to get their fuel, but he still, takes revenge on the guy who had been, raping the woman. And there is that side to him that wants to make sure that things work out for the best. And he really latches onto this tribe. I like that. And I love the connection that he has with the feral kid. I think that's just such a great little connection. I love having this young boy who only growls and has that crazy hair and his sharpened boomerang that kills people. I love that. And I love that he's got that little, what do you call those little things? A little hurdy-gurdy or something? Is that what that is? That little music box thing?
Oh, yeah. Is that what that is? Is that a hurdy-gurdy?
Yeah, it's a little hurdy-gurdy.
You say it like such an Australian.
Except
I can't get the words
tiny
out.
One.
A hurdy-gurdy.
Oh, you Americans.
I sound like a doofus.
It's a little hurdy-gurdy.
There you go. I like that too, and I love that their connection between him and the boy isn't really cemented for me until the end, when the boy is hanging off the side of the moving semi and he throws him into the truck. I love that, and the intensity of their connection when he needs the kid to get out on the front of the semi and grab the last shotgun shell. The way the camera works, the quick cuts between his face and Max's face, and then finally the face of this shocking creature that kind of reaches up over the front, the nose of the
Wes.
truck. Is just terrifically intense. I love that.
That whole last bit of the chase, I think, is just one of my favorites in car chase history. I have such a great time watching that scene, with Max, with the feral kid, with Wes popping up, and then the return of Humongous in the most fantastic way. just leading to just the finale. I just think it is just brilliant.
It is brilliant. Do you find it difficult watching this film so soon after your Fast and the Furious binge?
No, I actually love watching this right after the Fast and Furious binge because I'm seeing all this fantastic real stunt work with people who are doing crazy, nutty things with real cars moving down the road that they shouldn't be doing. And I love watching the reality of real stunt work. Now, I know in a lot of the Fast and Furious they were doing some real stunt work, but I also know there's a lot of stuff that wasn't real, like tank chases and airplane chases and lots of stuff. But I love seeing how it's evolved. And I think it's really fun to look at something that essentially birthed the whole Fast and Furious franchise. I think it is somewhat fair to say that, and see that it still has as much, if not more, energy.
No, I agree with you. I think I asked the question just because for me, I found it took a reset. I feel like it took it takes a bit of a cleansing. I haven't watched the movie, twice all the way through, but I watched the movie all the way through, and then I had to go back and watch the major set pieces again, the final chase and the opening sequence, and I had to really acclimate to these, to sort of realizing that these stunts, like the cannonball stunt in particular, where our stuntman is flipping head over heels, literally through the air. And it looks on first viewing, after you've seen this, multi-million-dollar sports car fly between the buildings of the giant skyscraper in Abu Dhabi, after you've seen that, it doesn't look that impressive until you realize that they actually did this one. They actually threw a guy head over heels into a giant pile of cardboard boxes. And that suddenly it has a greater impact. And he broke his leg again.
Yeah. Again.
It is really, it's a stunning, like the stunt sequences in general are stunning, accomplishments, knowing that they were still in a position of paying on beer, paying for work on beer and hiring people off the street.
At least they had a little more money this go around.
Yeah, right.
But they put it on screen. I think that's what's so exciting is they've created this whole fortress refinery out in the middle of the outback, out by Broken Hill in New South Wales is where they're filming.
Did I read that this was the biggest set ever constructed in Australia at the time?
I don't know if you read that or not, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I did. I think I did read that, or I saw it in one of the making of videos. It's floating around on YouTube. I'll dig it up.
And then they blew it up.
They sure did.
Which is also just super fun to watch. And they said that it was such a big explosion that they were planning that they had to actually notify all of the air traffic control people in the area, and just like all the police and everyone, even though they're out in the middle of nowhere, they had to notify everybody because this thing was so big and it shot things so far up into the air that they had to let them know. In fact, when you're watching it, and they shot it, I think, like 96 frames per second, but you can see these tires flying. I don't even know how high into the air, but those are those giant tractor tires. When you're looking at that, it's like, yeah, those things went way high. So it was pretty crazy.
It was a great explosion. Really satisfying.
Yes.
Mel Gibson again.
Good old Mel is back.
A little bit less shiny, a little bit more road weary.
Yeah, I think this is where he first gets that little swath of gray on the side of his head, right?
Yeah.
A little gray patch.
He was only, 24?
Yeah, he was young. Did you know his name is Mel Columcille Gerard Gibson? Is that how you say that? Columcille?
Columcille.
Columcille.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's a strange name.
And that it's Mel. It's not short for something.
Right.
Melvin.
Right.
Melnard.
Melnard? Mm-hmm. So between Mad Max, he did Tim, he did The Chain Reaction, he did Punishment, Gallipoli, he was in an episode of Tickled Pink, a TV series, and then he was in Mad Max. So he was very busy between Mad Max and Mad Max 2. And but like you said, I don't think he looks that much older. I think he just looks a little more run down.
Yeah,
I think they gave him a great look for this, to make it look like a guy who's been kind of living out on the road for 2 years scrapping for fuel.
Yeah, I found him quite believable, and still wearing kind of the worn down leathers. We talked about the costume design last week, and I think that's I think the same thing really holds in this film, that Norma Morrisseau ends up really pulling her weight in aging the after the fall kind of gestalt, the costume gestalt that we have on display here. I think the leathers look as if they are just 2 years more worn after the last film. It doesn't look like a wholly different thing. We talked a little bit about this last week. This idea that one of the things that really sets the tone of the film is the evolution of the costume, the slow, metered evolution from we're just trying to figure out how to live in this new world to we're plumb Tina Turner crazy. Really, really works.
And she wasn't involved in Mad Max, but I think she did latch on to that, and also the differences between the two sides, the more punk side that you have with all the bad guys, and then kind of the sweating with the 80s style that we have going on the good guys side.
It's funny. It's like, it's sort of, I couldn't help but think about the, Khan and his people.
Right.
This is City Alpha 5.
Couldn't help but think of it. They look like the sort of the Gene Roddenberry's version of hardened desert people. They look dusty, but they still don't quite belong. And that's what I got out of them.
But I love it because it feels like a dystopian world where if World War III had happened in the middle of the 80s, I mean, clothing production is going to shut down and you're going to end up wearing what you've been wearing at the time.
And how did these people all end up wearing the same white workout outfits?
You latch on to people who wear the same clothes as you.
Okay. Right. They were in a gym class. It was Zumba. They were all in a Zumba class when civilization fell. Mark my words, Andy, that's how it's going to happen. Not slowly over time, but quickly because of Zumba.
Because of Zumba. This is what we're left with.
This is our cultural history. Oh, goodness. Yeah.
Oh, but I do love it. I do love the look.
We were supposed to be talking about Mel Gibson, but mostly it ended up here because his costume, knowing that his costume was the full nicer police leathers last time around, I think it ends up looking really good. And his performance was great. How about Bruce Spence? He was one of my favorite characters in this. He's the gyro captain. He meets, he's got this crazy kind of wolf spider, or is that the wolf spider, the trap spider plan, where he digs himself in a hole and tries to lure people, trapdoor spider, lures people to his gyro to be bit by a crazy snake that he's trained. What's up with that?
I don't know, but it's so fantastically silly that I just love it. I mean, he's great in the film. I just love his character. He's got just the mouth full of rotting teeth. And he's this giant of a man. He's like this scrawny scarecrow giant type of guy. I mean, I think he's 6'7" is how tall he is. And there's just something about him that works so well in this crazy world where he's like this crazy former Air Force captain or something. I don't even know what his backstory is, but I love the idea of this guy who, in this world of fighting on the road, he flies around in a gyrocopter. There's something that's just awesome about that.
I know. I think it's so good. When you look at transformations across the scope of the narrative, we have Mel Gibson, who has his transformative awakening, but somehow our gyro captain goes from being the nut job trapdoor spider to the leader of the gang of sweating to the oldies settlers. That is a major transformation.
It's fantastic. It really is. He's another actor who came from this Ozploitation world of films. He was back in 1971, he actually won an AFI award for Best Actor in this role, in the role of a film called Stork. That was about, it was just kind of the silly Australian comedy where he's, I think it was just one of the kind of the raunchier comedies, but I don't know what the actual story is, but that's kind of where he came from that movie. And he's one of those guys who is in everything. He was in Finding Nemo as Chum, one of the sharks. He was in The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, as the Mouth of Sauron. Matrix Revolutions as the Train Man. He was in Star Wars 3 as, I don't know who Tion Medon is, but I think he's one of the, who is that? Is he one of the, I think he's one of the guys on Geonosis talking to, like cutting the deal with the people to make the droids, right?
One of the long necks?
No, I think he's the tall businessman who's like, oh, the business district supports the droid army. Okay, I don't know. I don't remember. That's my guess because that's a tall character.
Wow,
I don't quite remember. But
yeah. You know who he was? I actually, okay, it's when Obi-Wan flies down to the planet with the giant holes in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, Geonosis, isn't it?
Was that Geonosis? Anyway, he's the guy who said, who stops and says, "They're here, shh, don't make any sudden moves. The army's here." So he looks kind of like the vampire from Mr. Blue, except for he's the guy put through a cheese grater on his head. He's the lines.
Somebody hit him in the face a little too hard with a fly swatter.
So you take Mr. Blue from Salem's Lot, you put him on like a panini grill, and then make him wear a 1979 circa kind of maroon cable knit turtleneck, and that's what you got.
That's what you got.
Tion Medon.
Fantastic.
I think the panini grill, you got to admit, panini grill is really the nice touch there.
That is a great touch.
I bet George Lucas describes him that way.
If not, he should. He's going to now because he listens to the show regularly. Hi, George.
Okay, he is in everything. You're absolutely right, and he was also in, as with many of my other favorite Australian actors of the era, he was also in an episode of Farscape. One of these days, we're going to do just all of Farscape because I love that show.
There you go. And we're going to be talking about him more next week.
I know. He is in the follow-up. Mm-hmm. Did you see I, Frankenstein?
I didn't.
He was in that too.
Pretty bad.
Looked bad. Yep.
Right. Speaking of Farscape, Virginia Hay. Virginia Hay. Warrior Woman. She is in Farscape also.
Yeah.
She plays Zoto Zahn.
Oh, I love her in Farscape. She was the blue alien that I loved so much. She was a total regular, part of the crew. Awesome. I love that show, and I think more people need to see it.
I've never seen Farscape. I just know that she was in it. I know
so many people I know who aren't evolved enough to understand the show. They give up when they see that one of the aliens is kind of Muppet era Yoda type character. And it's any science fiction with a short Muppet. It doesn't. They just don't give it enough.
They avoid it.
Yeah, they avoid it, which is a real mistake. I love that show.
I'll have to watch it.
Yep.
She was in The Living Daylights. She was John Rhys Meyers. Not which one is the Raiders of the Lost Ark one? Which John Rhys is he?
You're just using words.
What? John Rhys Davies.
Yeah. He was.
He was like a Russian guy, and she was his wife, and they faked his death.
What was his name? Pushkin. He was Leonid Pushkin.
Yeah, and she was Rudovich.
That's right.
His wife.
All right.
And they had to fake his death, and she's like, no. And then he sits up in the back room. She's like, what?
She's like, what? Who goes there? What?
No, I love Warrior Woman, and I'll tell you why. I do this thing in my screenwriting class where I've cut, and I admit that I stole this from somebody else. I can't remember his name right now. Bill Martell, I believe. I cut Mad Max 2, I cut all of her scenes to show the class a character arc over the course of a film, and how you don't really need to have that many scenes to have a character arc. And I just play all of her scenes, which amounts to about 15 minutes of screen time. And we just watched this story of Warrior Woman, from the first time we meet her hating Max and wanting to kill him, to the point where she finally turns and says, "I was wrong about you," to fighting by his side at the end and finally dying. It's a beautiful little story, and we watch it every semester in my class. And so I have seen her scenes from this movie so many times.
That's
so many times.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it's really fun. It's fun to watch and just kind of see how a character actually transforms over the course of a film in a relatively short time.
You're a smart cookie.
Well, like I said, I admit to stealing it. So,
well, you know how to steal the right stuff.
That's right. It's all about what you steal.
Well played.
Not that you steal.
Steal like an artist.
But she's been in enough cult stuff where she's one of those people who makes a lot of money and spends a lot of time at different conventions.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the money stuff. How do you know she makes a lot of money?
I guess I don't really know that. We don't share a bank account or anything.
Well, I was wondering.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got to talk about Max Phipps. He's been in a lot of other things. He was in this film. He played the toady.
Gets his fingers chopped off.
No, wait, is he so he's not the one who gets smashed at the end of the film.
No. That's Humongous and Wes.
And
Wes,
those two. Yeah, gets squished.
Yeah, those are the ones I like. Humongous was Kjell Nilsson. I'm sure I'm saying that poorly.
Me too.
We'll wait to hear what the Film Podden guys say about that.
Kjell
Nilsson. Who was I think he was a Swedish like Olympic athlete or something like that.
He looks it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole. This is something I love about George Miller and these stories, is he creates these just out of your mind sort of crazy antagonists that are just nutso. And the whole, I guess, the idea of Lord Humongous is that he might have been like a military person who had his face burned or something, and so now he just runs around in this hockey mask and in next to nothing, and is just like bulking out with muscles. When you get that shot from behind his head, you can see like his veins pulsing on his head and everything. I love it. It's nutso, and it's so great.
I totally agree. He was a Swedish Olympic class weightlifter.
There you go.
Weightlifter. He was only in 5 films, or had 5 parts, including this was the one that he was really, really known for. But man, he's a good-looking man today. Good-looking man.
Humongous.
You wouldn't know it from the hockey mask.
No, you wouldn't.
It looks like he is a director at Nordrigo, Nordic Center for Spatial Development.
Wow.
He is he's a doctor, Dr. Kjell Nilsson, Nordrigo's new director. He started that job on February 1st, 2013.
Oh, there you go.
He's a head of Division of Parks and Urban Landscapes at the Danish Center for Forest Landscape and Planning at the University of Copenhagen.
That's like the perfect job for somebody to have. And then when the world goes to hell in a handbasket, he's the one who becomes the Humongous.
I have a hard time imagining that he's the same person because he had the mask on. It is quite possible that I'm making Dr. Kjell Nilsson, who looks about the right age, that I'm making up a history for him that is not accurate.
I'm reading it all. It's all right there. I'm seeing it.
You are?
With the pictures and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
The nice little goatee and everything.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
That makes me exceedingly happy.
That is wild.
There is nothing on the Nordrigo site that actually talks about his role as Lord Humongous. Maybe they don't consider that appropriate job history. I wonder if it's on his resume, on his CV. I know I'm a doctor. I know I've worked hard, but did you see Mad Max 2? Because I killed it in that movie.
Oh, that's so funny. There's probably some wires crossed in the world of the internet, and 2 people have been fused into one.
I know. I feel like we're going to be. Yeah, somebody needs to do a podcast about that.
Somebody's going to straighten us out.
The mistaken identity of Dr. Kjell Nilsson. Serial. That needs to be Serial season 2. All right. Where do you want to go from there?
Well, and then Wes. I think we have to mention Vernon Wells as Wes, who I think is fantastic as just the most over-the-top henchman. In fact, somebody, what was it, Empire Magazine listed Wes as the greatest movie henchman of all time. And I don't know, I guess I could see it. I certainly love watching him in this. He's nuts, he's crazy. He was in Weird Science as, I believe, kind of just pretty much the same character. And he was in Inner Space.
As a henchman.
As a
CIA agent, one of the agents at the end.
I'm not sure which one he was.
He has been in a ton of stuff really recent. Like, you see how much he has just announced pre-production, post-production, filming. Like, his 2015 list of credits is non-trivial. It's bananas.
He's so busy.
The guy is everywhere.
Boy, finally, somebody put Ethan Hawke. Put him down, man. We found somebody. Took the reins.
Wells.
Holy cow.
Oh, yeah, right?
That is nuts.
Well, yeah, he was great, and he meets a really satisfying end in this film. He is the crazy guy who reaches over the hood of the semi and ends up getting smushed between semi and oncoming nitrous-powered, thrusted buggy driven by Lord Humongous, and they crash head-on, and he becomes liquid.
It's pretty fantastic.
It's really, really good. Mm-hmm. All right. What do you notice about George Miller in his direction this time around? Any notes?
I think he definitely is more assured this time. I think he, again, is really having a good time just experimenting and playing around with his team. I think they are a little more self-assured this time. I think he really works well with Dean Semler, the cinematographer in this, capturing just gorgeous widescreen shots of the outback. It just looks desolate and dry and dirty. But they make it look so good. And I think he just knows how to tell a really taut story. I love the way that he structures this script. It feels fairly simple, but at the same time, I think there is more going on here. And I love this idea of this man not necessarily trying to find redemption, but redemption kind of finds him, and he's fighting it. And he finally succumbs and is able to kind of get past this place that he was left at the end of the last film. I think that he has grown quite a bit as a filmmaker from the last film to this, and it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see where he goes to the next one, and then there's quite a gap before Fury Road. But I'm excited to see how he takes it on there.
So Dean Semler was not a part of Mad Max.
Right.
This was his first, and he did do Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Right.
And he is not a part of Fury Road. But this is where he started getting busy, Dean Semler. He has been behind the camera of some significant action flicks.
Oh, yes.
And some significant thrillers. And boy, you can just see why someone would want to pick him for something like Triple X or The Last Action Hero or Stealth. I mean, it's a guy who knows how to put cameras in the middle of action.
Well, and not just that. I mean, this is a guy who shot Dances with Wolves. He knows how to capture just amazing landscapes, and knows how to tell a story with the camera in the right way for the right genre. And I think that he does it really well, whether it's the action stuff or whether it's Bruce Almighty or Dances with Wolves. I think he's very strong at telling a story with the camera, regardless of what the genre is. In fact,
I know what you're going to say. I know it.
Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
Yep.
Yep, he did. Me a little sad.
He did Apocalypto, which I thought had an interesting look to it. I was not a fan of the film, but
I haven't seen it, but I thought it looked good from the trailers.
Yeah. And Secretariat, it's another.
Yeah.
It had another. It had big scope.
Yeah, he definitely knows how to make stuff look pretty.
Yeah,
and it's interesting with all this stuff that he's done. He says that the film he gets asked about the most, it's not one of his big award-winning things. It is The Road Warrior. He gets asked, he says, weekly about that film.
Yeah, that's a curse. All right, so there's that we generally, we didn't talk a whole lot about the stunts, but the stunts in this film were a nice evolution from the first. I think we really do get the same sense of being right in the middle of it and getting a sense of throwing bodies around in a really realistic and practical way. Two stunts that I ended up finding the behind the scenes videos on, watching them, actually break their legs. And the clip, the cannonball stunt where, he's supposed to do a nice fly out of the windshield and tuck and roll. And it was a nice long throw, but had it gone right, he would have had a nice tuck and roll and then out of frame into the boxes. Ended up leaving the car at the last minute and lost complete control. And that's where he did the full, what is it when it's not a pike? It's what is that position when your body is fully stretched out?
Panic.
It was the panic position. I'm sure I learned. I think that I did.
I don't know.
When he falls out, he comes out of the car and he's fully stretched out. His head's flipping over. He's flipping over himself just more like a stick flying through the air, right? With complete lack of control. And that's where he broke his leg. They used that one actually in the film, obviously, which is sort of horrifying, knowing that it was completely out of control, like some of the stunts we talked about last week. And the other one, whereas the car is cruising along at 60 miles an hour, and there's a gunner in the trunk, and the car goes up and has to clear 20 feet of wreckage, and then land. And the car ends up coming out and over on top of the guy who's like standing on top of the car, which ended up not going as well. And so that was Max Aspen. And both of those guys, those stunt guys, were out of production. They were like the lead stunt guys. They were out of production for the duration of it was Guy Norris and Max Aspen out of production for the duration of the film because of those injuries. Yeah.
Wow. They should have used Grant Page, who is the stunt coordinator on Mad Max.
They should have. Glad you found that.
Phew.
But what is Guy Norris? It will be interesting. He is the supervising stunt coordinator for Fury Road, and Suicide Squad. Have you seen some of those pictures coming out of that?
Yeah, it looks ridiculous.
It really does. It makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Anyway. And Happy Feet 2. He was the stunt coordinator for Happy Feet 2. How was there a stunt coordinator on Happy Feet 2? It was animated.
But I'm guessing it was because it was motion capture, and they probably had some of the actors in wires, wire rigs, jumping and doing things on stage to film them, so they could actually capture the motion.
All right, well,
as they do when you're filming.
You've saved it this time.
A random note.
Do it.
Harold Bajent, I think. I don't know how you say that last name. Bajent. Mm-hmm. He had a 246 word introductory monologue at the beginning of the film. That is his voice at the beginning, and then he also finishes up at the end. He was in Gallipoli. He was the camel driver that they run into. Random bit of trivia.
That's funny. I had to make that connection again. Gallipoli. We've done that movie. That was a great film.
It was in our 1981 series.
That's right.
So this can also be added to that little group.
Yeah, slot that right in there.
Oh, and then I was going to say, this is a film that a lot of filmmakers credit with being one of their favorites. Guillermo del Toro, David Fincher, Robert Rodriguez, and James Cameron all credit it as either one of their favorites or something that's had incredible influence on them.
That still surprises me.
I don't know why.
Compared to the first one. I mean, if I'm going to pick a film, this one, I prefer the original Mad Max to Mad Max 2 at this point.
Yeah, I can tell. But I'm just saying, David Fincher and I, we're in the same corner, so that's cool. You stay over there.
Okay. Gauntlet has been thrown. All right. How did it do?
Well, you have the box office on your side. It didn't do as well as Mad Max, although it still did pretty well for itself. I couldn't find as many international figures. I could only find Australia and the U.S. From what I found, it cost $2 million to make, which adjusted to today's dollars is about $5 million. So, I mean, they had quite a bit more money because last time it was $200,000, and so they bumped that up by another zero. And this film ended up in the U.S. This film definitely found its audience here. It made $24.6 million here in the U.S. and internationally, well, in Australia, it made $12.2 million. So it all told, it ended up making an adjusted profit per finished minute of about $928,400 per finished minute. So it didn't have as fantastic a return as Mad Max, but it still made money, still did well for itself. And I think all of these films have really ended up creating quite the following. And I think it's fair to say that they all continue to make money.
Yes, I think so. And maybe on the poster artwork alone. Have you done the posters for Pinterest yet?
I haven't, but I'm definitely looking forward to checking them out because the ones that I've seen for it, I just love. I love all the posters for the Mad Max series.
There is the one I'm looking at right now has the semi coming straight down the middle with these great leading lines, perspective lines, straight back into the middle of the thing to the exploding refinery. And on one side, you see the shoulder and massively muscular arm of Humongous. And on the other side, you have the mirror of just the shoulder and arm of Max. And that is not Mel Gibson's arm.
It looks like it's Humongous's arm.
It looks like it's a mirror of Humongous's arm, right? It's really good.
That's a fantastic poster. I'm checking it out now. Just one man can make a difference.
Right?
Love it.
I say we rank it.
Let's do it.
Let's head over to flickchart.com/thenextreel, and you can join us, friend us, like us, subscribe to us, take a look at our movies and rank them yourself, and then let us know how we diverge in a yellow wood. Let's do it.
This is a great first start. The Road Warrior or Mad Max?
Well,
let's start off with some headbutting here.
I'm already on the record. I think it's just there's a stronger emotional connection in the first film.
I would say the same about the second one. Although I think they're both fantastic. I think they're both top-notch films and well worth watching. So we're gonna have to Rochambeau this one.
All right, let's do it.
All right,
one, two, three, rock. One.
All right, 1, 2, 3.
Scissors.
Paper. Oh, man.
Yeah, see?
I see.
Payback.
I know. Oh, injustice. The Road Warrior or Taxi Driver?
The Road Warrior.
Road Warrior,
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Road Warrior or Field of Dreams?
The Road Warrior. Although that's what I'd love to see, a mashup.
That would be, if you build it, he will come.
Don't let him come.
Here he is.
The poster with the field actually exploding in the background and the two giant muscular arms.
I would love it if his dad appeared and it was humongous. I just wanted to play ball with you, Dad.
Why are you blowing up my car? So do we need to Rochambeau this one too?
No. I'm Road Warrior.
Oh, okay.
This one. Road Warrior or The Night of the Hunter? I'm still Road Warrior.
Yeah, I'm Road Warrior.
Road Warrior or Knowing? I'm still Road Warrior.
Yes, thank goodness.
Road Warrior or Kind Hearts and Coronets?
Road Warrior.
Road Warrior. It's going to be Road Warrior for me, probably on most of these, because it should have been above Mad Max. The Road Warrior or Hot Fuzz?
I'm Road Warrior.
Oh man, some of these posters are fantastic. Look at that, 93 right behind Mad Max and Joe vs. the Volcano. Oh, it's too funny.
Yeah, it makes you want to re-rank Mad Max. and beat Joe versus Volcano. That was a mistake. That was a Flickchart hate crime.
It's not. It makes me want to re-rank Joe and get Joe higher.
Flickchart purity, Andy.
Ah, yes. I know. But it's number 93 out of 183. So it's still, I think, in a good spot. We have an awful lot of great movies.
We have great movies on this list. That's the challenge.
So, all right. It is. Yes, it is.
It should be no surprise that we go from here to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Because, if you hadn't heard, we don't need another hero.
That's right. We also don't need to know the way home.
No. We don't, because of Tina. This one, 1985. I don't know what to think about this one. I'm nervous.
I've watched it again. I'm ready.
Are you?
I am ready.
Is it
to rumble.
Third in your list of favorite Mad Max films?
It's third in my list. Yes, I am really looking forward to talking about it because there's a lot of interesting things going on there.
All right, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm going to go watch it tonight. That's my plan.
And I think there's a, we'll get into it next week.
We will.
Yes.
We will. All right. Sounds good, Andrew. I'm going to go to bed.
All right. I'm going to go play with my hurdy-gurdy.
All right, I got two.
Ooh,
that's
wow.
Right. That's right. Not amazing, but probably was terrific for its time from Gaijin Girl. Finally saw Road Warrior. Okay, to be truthful, the characters weren't particularly deep, or the car crashes particularly amazing. For its time, it was probably far better than seeing it in 2013, so it's okay, but unless you're already a fan, I wouldn't over-recommend it. Which I think is, I guess she's being very honest. But my favorite one is, now I get all those things in pop culture that look like S&M and bondage gear. George Miller and Mad Max did it. And I have to ask, what things? What things do you get? All those things in pop culture. I mean, can you think of any?
That's pretty funny.
I don't have any.
Chaining people to the front of my car.
Never done that.
Ooh, you're missing out, man.
Nobody in my pop culture crew
it's
ever
big
does
here.
that.
It's an Arizona thing.
I no longer wear my chaps, my buttless chaps.
I'm still wearing mine.
All right, what's yours?
Mine is a 1-star. That's title is actually 1 star by Carla. And Carla is very succinct. She just says, boring.
Yes, she did.
Hit the nail on the head, Carla. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Amazon.
Andy, it is hard to believe that we have been having in-depth weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
You are telling me. Producing this show week after week requires a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Just visit thenextreel.com/originals. Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
I love The Next Reel Season 4. Do you know why?
I don't. Why?
Because we got to talk about my favorite movie, Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
That's not even an adaptation.
No, but it was such a great part of our great Terry Gilliam series, and a few others in that series were adaptations, like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, adapted from Raspi's stories, and La Jetée, which inspired 12 Monkeys.
Oh, right. And for our Man with No Name trilogy, we saw how Sergio Leone's A Fistful of Dollars was basically stolen from Kurosawa's Yojimbo.
We added Labor Day to our Jason Reitman series, adapted from Joyce Maynard's novel.
Oof, there's one we'll always regret.
Our big Stephen King series covered adaptations like The Shining, Cujo, Christine, and Stand By Me, great horror and coming-of-age tales.
Another Coen Brothers adaptation, too. We got to talk about how they turned Homer's The Odyssey into Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
For our holiday series, we did The Bishop's Wife and The Poseidon Adventure.
And who could forget seeing Alec Guinness in the adaptation of Kind Hearts and Coronets during our series dedicated to him?
We really need to do more of his films.
Truly.
We had our first film noir series with classics like Double Indemnity, Detour, and Out of the Past.
And our black and white cinematography of James Wong Howe's series with The Thin Man, Sweet Smell of Success, Seconds, and King's Row. So many adaptations.
Oh, you're not kidding. Dive deeper into these originals and more at thenextreel.com/originals. Every book you buy helps support our show.
Get the full list at thenextreel.com/originals and start reading today.